Hi, Nick.
Hey, Mark.
I wanted to ask you about the impact like Julio Jones and Kevin Byard have had so far. I mean, obviously we saw on the field, but even though they've been here for such a short time, are you able to see like what they've meant to the other guys, like in their various position rooms?
Yeah, I think both of those guys have just been mainstays in the NFL for so long that when you add a veteran like that, people notice, our players notice, and know they can learn things from them, and they can, gain valuable, growth from these guys, and they're the right types of guys too, and so yeah, I think one thing that can kind of help answer your question is the reaction our team had. This is more about Julio than Kevin, but the reaction our team had when Julio scored that touchdown. I mean, you'd have thought like the way Lane Johnson and AJ and Kelsey and all the guys, Jordan, ran to the end zone. You would have thought there was like a fight that had broken out in there, but they were just going in the end zone to celebrate with Julio because of how much respect they have for him, how much he's done in the 2 weeks that he's been here, just his work ethic, and everybody notices that. Everybody notices, the way Julio works. There's a reason why he's been such a good player for so long in this league, and so I think that's a positive. Obviously, and especially I think someone sent me something. Bob sent me something. It's like Elliot said Nick Sirianni is going to love this celebration, and I did. So good call on that one, Elliot. And yeah, our guys are enjoying being around these guys.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, John, and then Zach.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, John.
Quick passing game. We were talking about it yesterday. You said you need to take a look at what went on there. Kind of want to get your thoughts the day after.
Yeah, I think again they did a good job of getting the ball out. Obviously by design. Sometimes that was on screens. Sometimes that was on actual quick game. Right? There was different variations of what was happening there. And we got to always put the guys in positions to succeed. Where it's not always middle of the field closed coverage. Right? I think when just mixing it even a little bit more for our guys. And we did. We tried to do a good job mixing it, but mixing it a little bit more to put a seed of doubt in the quarterback's mind. And then we lost some matchups here and there. So it was execution. It was us having to put them in a little bit better spots. And that's always going to be the case when you struggle in an area. It's never going to be, this is a team game. This is the ultimate team game. And so there's no team game better than this one. And so in my opinion. And so, that's what I thought. Again, as I talked through it with the defensive staff, sure, there's some matchups that they won here and there. And then we also got to make sure that we're mixing it up enough with some middle of the field open, with some different things that we can do that way. Because we were in a lot of middle field close when they were hitting some of those short, quick passing games on that.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Chris.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick.
Hey,
I
Zach.
will take this week's swing at the injury info. Three guys. First, is Cam Jurgens close to returning to practice? I know he's eligible this week. Second, is Jalen Carter's injury something to be concerned about? And third, given Grant Calcaterra's history in college, what level of, I guess, concern or care are you taking above normal with the concussion?
Yeah, that's a good question on Grant, Zach. Obviously every person that has a head injury, we want to give the ultimate care to. It's that's something we'll never mess around with. Their long-term health is more important to me than winning a football game. I'll be quite honest with you. And so with him, with Zach and his history, we're going to be. We're going to do our due diligence like we do with every player, and to be quite honest with you, and then some. Just because of his history and because we care about our guys, and so we'll see where that is. Cam is eligible this week. He's done a good job of rehabbing. The trainers, I just can't say enough about our trainers. and our strength staff and doctors that we have. So he's done a good job of getting himself in position to see if he can play this week. Obviously, there's a lot that has to go on this week for us to feel comfortable with that. And so, we're hopeful. That doesn't mean I'm saying one way or that. I don't know. But we're hopeful that, he can start practicing this week, but we'll see. Jalen feels better today. I'll say that. And, again, we want to get him out in the field to see where he is, but he feels better today. Again, that's a tribute to him getting in here and getting treatment, and also our trainers. And so, obviously, all very important parts of our football team. Their health is first and foremost, and we'll I won't put a timeline on them, but if they're ready to go, they'll go.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Chris, and then Dave.
Hey, Nick, two things. First off, how would you assess the way that the running backs have done so far, primarily DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Gainwell have done in that interior part of the red zone inside the 10? And secondly, when it comes to Kenneth Gainwell, there was a report that came out yesterday that he messaged somebody during halftime, another fan, about that. I wanted to get your reaction to that, and have you talked to him about that and anything else like that?
Yeah, good. Yeah, of course. I feel like, again, our red zone has been down. I think we've been on a climb. I think 3 weeks ago, we were like 27th in the red zone. We moved down to 19th, or moved up to 19th. And then yesterday we were 3 for 5 with 2 turnovers in there. Obviously, anytime you turn the ball down over in there, you're going to be kicking yourself. I'd say the second turnover led to points. Let me rephrase that. The second turnover on the quarterback sneak, we got a stop on defense. Then we got the good punt return, and then scored the next possession. But again, it's not one man's job to score touchdowns in the red zone. So you asked me about DeAndre, and you asked me about excuse me, Kenny down there. It's us putting the players in positions to succeed. It's the O-line leading the way, and the tight ends leading the way on the blocks. It's Jalen making the right read if we're running the football down there. So again, I got a lot of faith in these guys. Kenny had a fumble this week, but he had an unbelievable run the week before against Miami. Like one reaction to a mistake, right? If we reacted like sometimes maybe, I feel like how people want us to react at times, then all of our guys make mistakes. Like, we wouldn't have anybody to put in. We'd be putting in Brian Johnson to hand the ball off to Jamal Singleton, and we know nobody wants that. And so I still have a lot of faith in these guys, and I still got a lot of faith in Kenny. As far as the report, y'all saw it. So yeah, of course we talked to Kenny about that. These guys have some time away from us when we get into the locker room, where they sit down at their locker, they do whatever's going to take their mind, and just calm it. So this is part of these guys' lives is some of this stuff. So he's sitting at the locker. Should he respond to somebody that that's I don't even know, what is it called, tweeting I'm showing my, or
DMs.
Texting him or DMing him? No, he shouldn't respond to that guy or that girl at all. And so, yes, of course we've talked to him about that, to be locked in and be focused and not worried about outside noise. So yeah, and he knows he made a mistake responding back to that person, who I'm assuming is an Eagles fan, who then posted it on took a snapshot on and posted on it. That's a whole different set of issues if he's an Eagles fan, whatever. I won't even get into that. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm done. I'm not even going to say anymore, but yeah, go ahead. Next question.
We'll go to Dave and then Marcus.
Can't help myself.
You sure, Nick? I'm happy to let you
Yeah,
keep going.
no, I'm done. I'm good.
All right. I know you've been pretty proud of the wrinkles on the sneak look before. Just curious how collaborative that process is when you're designing that, and or if there's any coaches that are super fired up and get excited about adding those wrinkles to it.
Yeah, you know, it's everything we do is just is collaborative and trying to think of, you know, different ways to marry things together. We spent a lot of time on that in the off season of what can mesh to our quarterback sneak, knowing that our quarterback sneak's a good play for us. What can we mesh to it to make sure that we slow people down from stopping it, right? When you run a play like that, like we did yesterday, then that's going to, you know, that everything has a reaction, right? So the reaction to that's going to be the next teams we play are going to see that on tape, and they may have to devote a little less attention to the quarterback sneak to stop the other things, right? And so, you know, that's why you do those things. That's the thought process. You're trying to play the chess match in everything that you do. And we spent a lot of time on that in the offseason as a coaching staff, all of us, you know, as a coaching staff, you know, even to the point where you're asking the defensive coaches, what would you do to stop it? Oh, but what if we did this to, you know, do that? Now, the person that's responsible for studying, you know, studying all the different college tape and things like that to give us some ideas of, you know, whether it's college tape, whether it's around the NFL, whether it's high school, whatever it is, we see a good play. We're willing to look into it and put it in if it benefits us and helps marry things to us as Marcus Brady. That's his kind of one of his responsibilities is to study around the NFL, to study around college football, to see if there's any interesting things to mesh with the things that we're doing. And so, but you know, anytime something like that, you've talked a lot about something like that and it works, you're excited. The guys are excited, and the guys have to go out and execute it. Right? Anything can look pretty on paper, but it's about the guys that we have, and them going out and executing it in a situation like that. And they did, and I got a lot of faith in those guys.
Go ahead, Marcus, and then Bo.
Hey, Nick.
Marcus?
I was just looking at some stats, and I was kind of surprised to see when Jalen got hurt in 2021 when he hurt his ankle, his passer rating popped like 20 points the next 3 games. And the last couple games, he's been, you know, fighting a knee or whatever. And again, he's up 40 points in his passer rating. Do you think that his lack of mobility somehow positively affects the way that his efficiency as a passer?
Interesting. Man, there's so many variables to that, Marcus. I think that's interesting outlook. I'll sure look into that. That's for sure. But I think there's just so many different variables, who you're playing, you know, the style of game that you're in, like all those different things. I think Jalen has continued to develop as a passer, and I felt like around that time, you know, he was making huge strides, excuse me, around that time in 2021 that led to his big strides that he made in 2022. We were playing pretty good football there. Obviously, not that Giants game in 2021. I don't like thinking about that game too much, but thanks for bringing it up. You know, he's been making strides. So again, I think that's an interesting stat that you guys always bring up some interesting stats that spur my interest sometimes, and so I definitely look into that. But I just think there's a lot of different variables with that. And if there is something, you know, we'll try to unplug it. But you know, he just played an outstanding game, and he's been on a little bit of a roll here lately. And man, he played really good. He played really good yesterday, really good. You know, and we all saw that. And you know, tough leader, can beat you a lot of different ways. And he beat the team with his arm yesterday.
Thank you.
We'll take this last question here from Bo.
Hey, Nick, just curious if you have anything written in your notebook about the last week before the bye, if there's anything that you sort of do differently than a normal week.
The week leading into the bye?
Correct.
You make it sound like I have that notebook like in The Water Boy, the guy that carries that thing around. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I like that. I think that would be great.
Leading into the bye, treat it the same way you treat every game into it. During the bye and the week after the bye, of course, definitely things that, you know, that are in my notebook. But leading into it, no, I don't. You know, this week it will be treated like last week, right? the preparation will be the same. And in fact, the preparation is the same, following the bye as well. There's just some things that you want to do differently without getting too much into it. And there's things you want to do during that bye week to make sure that you're, making yourself as hard to defend as possible. But this week, no.
And you wouldn't push a guy a few more snaps to play in terms of the rotation or anything?
Fair question. We, we like our rotation. There's some things that we're constantly thinking and talking about our rotation. And there was discussions we had today about our rotation. Hey, maybe we got to pull a couple plays off this guy. Hey, maybe we got to put a couple more plays on this guy. And so, I understanding that they're going to have a week to rest after this, but always, Bo, always, we're trying to do what we need to do to win that football game. So if that means, whatever, I'm trying to think of an example. If that means 90% of the snaps for Hassan Reddick, we got to do what we got to do to win that game. If that means, whatever it is, throw it 50 times, run it 50 times, whatever we think that's best to do to win that game, we're going to do. Now, with always thinking of the player's health also in the mix of that, because with Julio, he's still easing into it. So, if Julio to play 50 plays yesterday wouldn't have been a realistic thing. Am I answering your question for you?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for your time, Coach.